All right, so I'm going to tell you a story of a man named Saul. And I have a really long version here, so I'm going to try to make it shorter. So Saul was an angry man who did not like Christians at all. He yelled and screamed at them. He made nasty threats. He beat them, and sometimes he even killed them. He was definitely not a man anyone would want to try to be friends with. Would you want to be friends with him? No. So, on a certain day, Saul was traveling to Damascus. And he was with some of his friends, and they were talking about how they didn't like Christians and all that stuff, and what they're going to do to them. And suddenly, bright light came from the heavens, and it surrounded him. And it hurt his eyes, and he fell to the ground. Then he heard a voice, and he didn't know what it was, or who it was. It said, "Saul, why do you persecute me?" Well, Saul didn't know who this voice was. He said, "Who are you?" Then the voice came back, "I am Jesus." Okay, so if you saw bright light, and then a voice like that, how would you feel? Would you be kind of scared?
Scared.
Yeah, really scared. Very scared. So Saul was scared, okay? He was shaking and he was trembling. And then he said, "What do I do?" And then Jesus said, "Go to the city and someone will meet you and tell you what to do." So his friends didn't see this light that he did. Saul was the only one who saw it. So when he got up, he couldn't see anymore. He was blind. Can you imagine that? You heard this voice you didn't recognize, and they told you to do something, and now you're blind. That's pretty scary, isn't it? So he went to Damascus, and he met Ananias. Is that correct? Thank you. Ananias. And Ananias talked to him. He took him in. Now, Ananias had also heard from God. God told him to be looking for Saul. So Ananias did what God said, and he took Saul in, and one thing led to another. Ananias told Saul all about God and Jesus, and guess what happened? Saul changed. His heart changed. He became a Christian. He even became a preacher. So he went from being this really terrible person to completely changing and being a Christian and telling others about God. Isn't that amazing? So you can say that Saul was like this ice. What's happening to this ice right now? It's melting. Why does ice melt? Is it because it's still cold? Or is it warming up? It's warming up. I know y'all know this. I'm just shouting. So Saul's heart was like this ice. It was frozen. Who started to melt his heart? Who changed his heart? God. Very good. Thank you. So God can take something like this frozen block of ice and warm it. He can change anyone's heart. Anyone. Even someone like Saul, who was a terrible person. So he can melt our heart like this block of ice. Isn't that amazing? All right, let's pray. Lord, thank you that you are able to take any heart and change it, just like this block of ice. Melt our hearts to anything that might be frozen. Amen.